Hello, can everybody hear me? Also in the back there. So I want to talk about a tool for writing command line, about a framework for writing command line tools. First, I would like to ask you a question. Who of you is using Z shell as a shell? Not so many. So who's using bash? Right. Who's using anything else? Oh. Okay. Which one? Okay, I don't know that. Fish, maybe? Anyone? So my framework currently is targeted at bash and Z shell for the completion part. So the bash completion and the Z shell completion were actually one reason why I wrote this, because there's not much support for completion, and especially for Z shell completion for tools on CPAN. Just a note about this presentation software. It's called Room, and it's written by Ingi. You write your slides in Vim, and you also can present your slides in Vim. So first, some notes about command line tools: usage output, error messages, tab completion, especially advanced tab completion, man pages, argument validation. And the tool, the framework, should do all these things for you. So who has used GetLong? Yeah. So my framework is actually using this under the hood for parsing the options, because I didn't want to do this myself. So there's GetLong descriptive. Okay. There's GetLong descriptive pod, because, yeah, the first one doesn't do pod. There's pod usage. There's app command. App command, anyone? It's quite popular. I think Distilla is using it, and Dancer. So there's music's app. There's music's app command. There's mousic's app command. And there is muix command. There's no moix command yet. I'm asking you about that. So there's Amplify, it's pretty new, and probably a lot of others. So yeah, why did I want to reinvent the wheel? Because, yeah, fun, and because there is no real wheel yet. So there are parts, there are certain frameworks that do certain things and others, but you can't plug them together. So there is some bash completion on CPAN, for example, but I don't find it easy to use, and you cannot use it with every of the existing frameworks. And I learned how to write Z-shell completion last year. So because I wrote the completion for the GitHub command line tool, git-hub from Ingi. Don't know if any one of you is using that, git-hub. One person? Really? Okay. Okay, so this is just an example for the git-hub tool. You can merge pull requests with it. You can create pull requests, resolve issues, comment on issues, and a lot of stuff from the command line, so you don't have to change to the browser. Anyway, so I wrote some advanced completion for it. And then I got somehow addicted to completion. And then I was thinking of a command line tool for which completion would actually be quite important, and I'll show you that later. I tried music's app, and I wrote music's app plugin Z-shell completion, but I decided against it because it didn't really support what I wanted. So I wanted to generate an app from a specification file, and so I would have to generate hundreds of classes automatically, and it didn't feel right. So then I decided to try my own framework. It's called Appsback, and you write a YAML file to specify your app. And Appsback run is actually the framework you are using. And this is what the user has to install. Yeah, I'll show you what it supports later. So here's just a short example. You have a name and a class. This is a class you actually have to implement if you write the command line to a title. Then you have some global options and you have subcommands. And the subcommands can also have options themselves, and they can also have parameters. And the op is the actual method which will be called. I'll just show a little bit. This used to work, I don't know why, but yeah, typical. Okay. So this is my example app called My App. And what you can see here, if you don't call it with any parameters, it will tell you that it's missing a subcommand, and it's highlighted. So that's just the same output you get with -h. And now I try a subcommand like palindrome, and now it tells me that it gets a string as a parameter. I just have implemented several example subcommands for demonstration. So I want to show you how completion of static enums would work. So we have an app which can cook things like tea or coffee, and you specify a parameter named drink, and it has an enum tea coffee. And yeah, if you type tab, you can select this one. And also the options. Okay, this one didn't work. So that's probably the easiest thing, static enum completion. But you also can have some kind of dynamic completion. So the command palindrome takes a parameter, a string parameter, and checks if it is a palindrome. And if you want completion for it, you could just list all words that are palindromes already. And you can just grab through dict words and print them out with Perl. And this is the command which gets called whenever you type tab. So, and I get all palindromes. So this is a really dumb example, but you could do anything you want. You could like query an API or something like that. So that's up to you. And also, you might want something more complicated, and so just a system call might not be enough, and you can call your app yourself for completion. So if you type tab, then a certain method of your app will be called, and I show you the code. It's probably not very understandable if you haven't worked with it, but I just show the important parts. So this is the method which gets called on tab completion. And you get a parameter, and this is the name of the parameter which is about to complete it. So in this case, it's probably just string. And you also get additional parameters which are already on a command line, or options, or any options. So you can just play with it. You know which parameter is about to complete, and you check if maybe if you only want unique parameters, you can check the already existing parameters and don't or leave something out from the completion list. And in the end, you return either an array, so just completion of strings, or you can return a hash, then you will get a description and a string. So what you can see here is you get the completion of the commands, including descriptions. This is a ZShell feature. Bash doesn't really have this, but I found a little trick on Stack Overflow, which, by which you can add some kind of completion. There are probably some edge cases, like 2 dashes or something like that, which could break the whole thing, but it's working, kind of. So with this, you can have any completion you want. What still needs to be implemented? Lots of things, and I would just wait for suggestions and help, of course, because I don't really know what people actually want and need. So I know what I want to have. Yeah, so just write open an issue on GitHub or write a pull request. Add more shells, maybe, fish. Command plugins. So you just have a basic command, and other people want to write a plugin for that. And this is not supported yet, but of course I want to do that. And maybe a distiller plugin that does everything for you, pod and completion generation, and ports to other languages. I've been playing with Bash a little bit. It's not very functional. What I'm playing with recently is API CLI. So this is a tool which uses an open API spec and Appsback for making API calls from the command line. So maybe you know about OpenAPI or not yet. I will talk about this on Friday. So I just show you how it works. So I've written 3 API tools for DigitalOcean, for GitHub, and for MetaCpan. And you type tab, and you get post, patch, and all the things. And for the second parameter, if you type tab, you get all the API endpoints. So you don't have to type that in manually. And if it has a colon in it, you can just fill in a parameter. Yeah. Does anyone know JQ? That's a really good tool. So this is the MetaCpan. Yeah, you can also do post requests with the parameter data file. You can just insert the post content. There's DigitalOcean. and there's GitHub. So, and the source for it is simply, this is the OpenAPI file for MetaCpan. I just wrote it because there doesn't exist one, or not that I know of. And the documentation of MetaCpan, well, I couldn't really find what I wanted to call, but I just took some convenient requests like author and distribution and stuff, and put it in this openapi spec. And if you have that, your app is just a matter of typing a command line, generate completion, generate port, and then you're finished. The actual script is, yeah, that's the actual script. So if you know of an API which has an open API spec, you can just use this tool and generate a command line client for it. And yeah, if you know of APIs that don't have an open API spec, then you might have a look at, 1 second. So there's a GitHub repository which has open API specs for a number of APIs that actually don't have their spec file themselves. So there's GitHub on it and other stuff. So you don't need to program anymore. So that's our goal anyway, right? We just don't want to program anymore, and for that we program. So how much time do I have left? 10 minutes? Really? Okay. And you can ask any questions at any time. Testing? Yes. So you just mean this, or what exactly do you want to test? Yes. Oh.
Appcommand has some modules for testing app.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering if you were doing something similar.
My testing is pretty basic. I just go over some test data, some input. So I have a YAML file with input, possibly environment variables, and expected output, expected standard error, standard out, and stuff like that. And it's good to actually do this in a YAML file, because then you can, if you implement this in Perl 6 maybe, or any other language, then you can just take the YAML file with the tests and implement your own, so you don't have to write the data for your tests actually. Yeah. But yeah, I would like to have a look at those modules from Appcommand. Any other questions? I didn't understand. I didn't. I believe it's just a synonym right now, isn't it? Okay. Ah, cool. Yeah. So yeah, we'll actually talk about that on Friday. So the Open APIs initiative donated, or Swagger donated their spec to the Open API. Oh yeah, that's another thing. So an actual example for that dynamic completion I didn't show. So I have a subcommand called convert. It converts several units, like distance or temperature. So I type distance. And then the next parameter is the source unit, like meter. And then I have to type the actual value. And then if I now type tab, I get the source, the target unit for completion. But as you can see, you not only get the target unit, but it already calculates. So you don't have to actually execute it anymore. So I find it really helpful, actually, that command, because before I just Googled for a converter, and now I'm using this one. So yeah, this was the code I was showing you. Like here you get the completion parameter, the type of unit, the source unit, and the target unit. And here the calculation happens. So the implementation of that command is much shorter than actually this subroutine, which does the completion, because it does both at the same time. Oh, I broke. Let's create. I just created another one. Okay, I just wanted to show you the pardon? Okay. But actually it should already be there. So it doesn't complete the command. Oh. Yeah. So there's my app bash, and the completion for it works because I didn't have to write any additional ZShell or bash code for it. And but yeah, this is just not really functional, but it works. And I actually have tests for it. They don't all work, but this is the test. So this is a bash script, and it uses test more, and it uses JSON, and so it uses JSON load to actually load the Appsback file. So with the Perl version, I wrote a YAML file, and for bash, I'm using a JSON file because there is no YAML parser for bash. Yeah, because nobody wants to write one, not even Ingi. So, but there is a JSON parser for bash. It's written by Ingi, and so, and there's also a utility that lets you use the use keyword, and he also wrote test more, so the tests just look like the Perl tests. It's pretty nice. So if you happen to have to write some bash, look at these tools from Ingi. They're really helpful. Okay, so any more questions? Not yet. If you could write the POSIX version. The test suite is already there. Okay. Any more questions? Thank you very much.